Hello dear viewers, this is the fourth part of the Bangladesh Labor Law chapter. Today we will start with the firefighting resource and first aid. If possible, all workers or at least 10% to 18% of workers employed in each department have to be trained on firefighting, emergency rescue operation, first aid and the usage of portable fire replacement instruments. And the security has to be ensured by dividing the trained workers into firefighting team, rescue team and first aid team. 6% members of in each team should be allocated, and the records related herewith have to be preserved in the accordance with the Form 22. Firefighting team yellow colored apron is in rear of which fire shall be written in red color. Rescue team yellow colored apron in wire of which rescue shall be written in red color. White color apron is in wire of which first aid shall be written and in red color. Fire safety officer. A trained officer shall be recruited in the factory or institute where at least 500 workers are employed. The duties of the officer shall be ensuring the preservation and maintenance of all firefighting equipments and keeping them fit and arranging trainings for the 3 teams after every 6 months period. The manager of the factory or institute shall prepare a firefighting plan detailing the necessary steps to be taken in fire if fire breaks out, and the plan shall also include the procedures for making the same as effective. The arrangement should be made to show evacuation plan of exit in one or more places easily visible in each floor of the factory. Personal protective equipment. No authority shall engage any worker in work without providing him with personal safety equipment and ensuring uses thereof, and a record book shall be maintained in this behalf by the employer in the prescribed manner. If any personal safety equipment is supplied but not used, the worker concerned shall be liable. Every worker shall be made aware of the hazards of work through training in order to ensure the protection and safety of his personal health in the place of work. Water reservoir. A water reservoir having the capacity of minimum 5,000 liters has to be arranged to each institute, and the reservoir must remain filled with water, and it should remain attached with house reel. Above all, the water reservoir should not put too much pressure upon the structure of the building. A drum filled with water with the capacity of 200 liter for each 1000 meter floor area on each floor of the factory, and 4 empty buckets of red color made of metal which with the capacity of 10 liter should be kept and maintained. Welfare officer. If the number of employees in any institute is 500 or more, and if number of workers in a tea garden is 500 or more, there must be an able welfare officer. In the number of employees exists 2,000, one additional welfare officer must be recruited for every additional fractions. At last, on at least honors degree and relevant training and expertise in the field of labor and industrial setting and expertise in respect of labor law, industrial relationship and disposal of complaints. The recruitment of welfare officer or about his or her termination from the post within 15 days. In case of termination from the post, the vacancy must be filled up as soon as possible. Committees. Safety Committee. All members of shall anonymously select a member's secretary in the first meeting of the committee. The term of the Safety Committee shall be last for 2 years after holding the first meeting. The representative of collective bargaining shall nominate workers representatives from the workers working in each section, department, floor, storehouse and unit separately. If there is no representative for collective bargaining in any establishment or factory, the representatives included in the participation committee on behalf of the workers shall nominate the workers' representative for the safety committee. Number of safety committee member. For 50 to 500 employees, the number will be 6. 500 to 1000 employees, the number will be 8. 1001 to 3000, number will be 10. And more than 3001, the committee number will be 12. Activities of the committee. And now participation committee. The employee of every establishment in which at least 50 workers are ordinarily employed shall through direct involvement of the workers working in that establishment constitute a participatory committee in his establishment in the manner prescribed by rules. Such committee shall consist of the representatives of the employer and the workers. An employer shall not transfer an elected or nominated officer or a member of the participatory committee belonging to the workers' side during the tenure of the committee without his consent. Okay, number of participation committee. If the employee is 1 to 100, then 6 members will participate. If member is 101 to 400, then 10 members. 401 to 800, 12 members. 801 to 1500, 14 members. 1501 to 3000, 18 members. 3001 to 5000, 22 members. 5001 to 7500 is 24 members, and more than 7500 is 30 members. In accordance with section 205 subsection 5 to send representatives of workers in the participant committee, the current registered trade unions will submit the names and details of the representatives to the worker owner as per Form 63 by receiving the request from him within 10 days. The Chief Executive Officer of the division or branch or welfare officer will be representative of the owner on behalf of the organization. The owner will form a participating committee through notice within 7 days of receive nomination from the collective bargaining agent and trade union, and the notice will be displayed on the notice boards and copy will be sent to other trade unions and labor director along with the collective bargaining agent. where there is no trade union or collective bargaining agent. In that case, the organization will help in the election of worker representative of participating committee by secret ballot by informing the labor director. The owner will form an election commission of 3 to 5 members from the employer and the worker for conducting the election not less than 30 days prior to the election, and will send a copy thereof to the Director of Labor. The ratio of representative from the owners and workers in the election conducting committee, it will be 2:3. Opportunity of nomination paper submission to be given within not more than 7 days of notification, and election will be completed within 15 working days after the finalization of the candidate. If requested, the Director of Labor can monitor such aspects of the work of the election, and the owner of the factory or organization cannot influence with such conduct directly or indirectly. The election conduction committee will send list of elected workers representatives to the director in writing within 10 days from the election. Then comes canteen. In an establishment where more than 100 workers are ordinarily employed, adequate number of canteens shall be provided for their use. The employer of the institute where more than 100 workers are employed shall arrange a canteen for the workers, facilitating adequate space minimum of 10% of the total number of workers. If the aforesaid canteen can accommodate 30% of the total workers for having meals, the employer is not obliged to arrange a separate lunch room. Then comes canteen committee. Canteen management committee shall be formed with participation of the representatives nominated by the employer and the representatives selected from the workers under the supervision of welfare officer having majority of opinions regarding them among the workers. The number of representatives shall be equal from both parties. The worker members cannot be less than 2 or more than 5 in the committee. The employer of the institute or his or her authorized welfare officer shall supervise the activities of the canteen management committee. Working hour and interval for rest. Working hour means the time during which the workers employed are at the disposal of the employer, including any interval allowed for rest and meals. Work for more than 6 hours in a day unless he is given an interval of 1 hour for rest or meal during that day. Work for more than 5 hours a day unless he is given interval of half an hour for the said purpose during that day. The workers who are employed in construction, re-rolling, steel mills, ship-breaking yards, industry and hazardous workers mentioned in Rule 68 cannot be made to work again without giving them half an hour break after every 2 hours of work alternatively. Weekly working hour. No adult worker shall ordinarily work or be required to work in an establishment for more than 48 hours a week. The total working hours of such worker shall not exceed 60 hours in a week, and on the average 56 hours 56 hours per week in a year. The total additional working hours of a worker employed in a road transport establishment shall not exceed 150 hours in a year. Overtime. Overtime is calculated in this manner: basic wages divided by 208 into 2 into total overtime hours. Deduction from wages for absence from duty. Deduction from wages of a worker for absence from the place of worker under section 152 subsection 2b may be only when he by the terms of his employment is required to work, but he is absent for the whole of or any part of thereof. The amount of such deduction shall in no case be more than the amount of wages payable to him for the period of absence. Daily wages amount has to be calculated by dividing the basic wage, allowance, and ad hoc or interim wages in any by 30 if any by 30 days, and the worker shall to be informed about the issue of deduction. Bonus and pay slip. The workers who have completed 1 year of service consecutively must be given 2 festival bonus in a year. Each festival bonus shall not be more than the basic wage amount, and his amount of money shall be considered as extra. If any worker wants to receive the wage amount through his bank account, the employer can pay the wages through the bank check and bank transfer. The employer shall provide the pay slip to them. In this case, the authority shall provide necessary help and support to female workers for about opening a bank account and running the same. Leave and holidays. Weekly holiday. Every worker employed in an establishment shall be entitled to 1.5 days of holiday in a week. In the case of a shop or commercial establishment or an industrial establishment, and 1 day in a week in the case of factory and establishment. If weekly leaves cannot be given to the workers, the due leaves must be given to them within the next 3 working days. As per section 104, the dues of exempt workers must be paid to the workers within 30 days of receiving any weekly leaves with compensation facilities. Casual leave. Every worker shall be entitled to casual leave for 10 days with full wages in a calendar year, and if such leave is not availed for any reason, it shall not be accumulated, and the leave of any year shall not be availed in the succeeding year. The worker can be casual and can take the casual and sick leave before or after the weekly leave or festival leave. In that case, the weekly and festival leave shall not be considered as casual leave. If the weekly or festival leave falls into the casual or sick leave, the leave shall be included in the original leaves. Sick leave. Except a newspaper worker, every worker shall be entitled sick leave with full wages for 14 days in a calendar year. No such leave shall be granted unless a registered medical practitioner appointed by the employer or in the absence of such medical practitioner, any other registered medical practitioner after examination certifies that the worker is ill and requires leave for treatment or cure for such period as is mentioned in the certificate. The worker can enjoy the leave proportionately if he or she joins the workplace in any part of the year. Annual leave calculation. For tea garden workers, 1 day for every 22 days of work. For newspaper workers, 1 day for every 11 days of work. Export processing zone workers, 1 day for every 18 days of work. Shop, commercial, industrial establishment, 1 day for 18 days of work. Leave balance. Factory or road transport establishment, 40 days in a year. Shop, commercial or industrial establishment, 60 days in a year. All establishment in export processing zone, 30 days in a year. Annual leave encashment rate. Any worker can have cash money against the unspent earned leave and more than the half of the earned leave cannot be cashed out at the end of the year. This type of cashing can be done only once in a year. For the leave of or holidays allowed to a worker under this act, he shall be paid at the rate of equal to the daily wages of the full-time wages, dearness allowances and ad hoc intern wages, except any overtime allowances and bonus for the days on which he worked during the month immediately preceding the year. If the service of a worker terminates due to retrenchment, discharge, removal, dismissal, retirement, resignation, or any other reason, and any annual leave is due to him, the employer shall pay him wages in lieu of the unavailed leave at the rate in he is entitled to the payment of wages during the period of leave. Festival leave. Every worker shall be allowed in a calendar year 11 days of festival holiday